kind of random.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Hip Hop Now Podcast Reviews, a podcast all about reviewing, I don't want to say essential, but some notable hip hop albums throughout the year. And today we have a double feature, and I'm gonna tell you the science behind that. But first and foremost, shout out to the producers over at patreon.com/hiphopnow, those that support this podcast, those that made some of the sound quality upgrades with me, right? A little bit of the guerrilla promotions campaigns, if you will, and all that good stuff. Big shout out to them. They make it possible. And if you would like to join the crew and have a say in how this podcast is produced, well, you can visit patreon.com/hiphopnow or click the link in the description of this episode. So if you're new here, or maybe you forgot the routine, when I review an album, right? Number one, I can't review them all. It's just too much hip hop coming out. But I try to review the albums for whatever given year, right, that are notable. Not meaning that every album that's dope is not notable, but I mean the conversation around the album and the artist is huge and long-lasting and impactful. And I make those decisions based off of that and that alone. Now, when it comes to my review process, well, what I tend to do is I give the album, in this case, these two albums, a good 3 listens, right? The first listen is usually just my impressions, right? I'm just trying to see if it's hot, if I like it. The second, I'm listening more to the lyrics and the production and the concept of the album. I'm taking all that into account. And the third listen is just to make sure whatever my impressions were on the first listen, whatever my feelings were on the second listen were correct. So it's really like the confirmation round. That's when I listen the third time. And today we're gonna talk about 2 albums, right? One from Kanye West, Donda. Yes, it's finally been released. And the other from Drake, Certified Lover Boy. Yes, it's finally been released. Both albums which are somewhat linked because they came out close and somewhat around the same time, right? Not the same day, but a week apart, I believe. But also the I'm putting up air quotes, right? Beef surrounding these two, right? Also how before the albums came out, we didn't know, if they were going to drop the same day. It just felt like they were kind of connected with their release dates in a lot of ways, and connected with how I feel. Now, for those of you who love reviews, but you just kind of want to know what a person think about it, well, I'm going to tell you what I think. Here's the quick review. Donda by Kanye West is bloated, and Certified Lover Boy by Drake is just okay. Now, if you want to stick around to hear why I say that, here we go. So let's start with Donda. Kanye West, if you don't know, he was pump faking this album for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month. He did about 3 listening sessions, right? And word on the street was he still didn't want it out yet, but it was released because, the dude rented out an arena to finish working on the album, and this is what we got. Donda is an album that would have been a double album were this the 90s. Easy, or even 90s and back. It would have been a double CD, it would have been a double cassette tape, it would have been probably 4 LPs at his vinyl, right? It would have probably been 4 of them joints. Probably still is, right? Probably released on vinyl. But nevertheless, the album is 27 tracks deep. I believe 1 or two, or a couple of them are more closer to, closer to skits. But he got tracks on here that's like 11 minutes and 31 seconds, 8 minutes and 59 seconds, 1 minute and 44 seconds, right? And it's obviously, if you don't know, Donda West is Kanye West's deceased mother. And so this album was dedicated to her. And if you know Kanye West, there are some religious undertones. I won't even say undertones, it's just blatant. But I will say it's not like this is a Christian rap album, right? This is a little bit different. The Kanye West you get on this project is probably closer to everything 808 and Heartbreaks, but not My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So if you're kind of looking for College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, you're not gonna get it. You're gonna get Jesus and and 808 and Heartbreaks and Jesus is Lord and what's the other one? Picasso, Apricot. I don't know. I can't even remember. I can't even keep up. Life of Pablo. You're gonna get a flavor that's a little bit more along those lines. Now, let me tell you why I say it's bloated, right? The obvious is the 27 tracks. If you've been listening to my weekly podcast, Hip Hop Now podcast, or you've been only tuning in for these reviews, you already know that I am not a fan, not anymore, of albums that have this many songs. I don't feel like rap artists, back when double albums was kind of a thing, I don't feel like they tried to make an experience. I think they make a bunch of songs and they give it one theme, right? One name and one theme. And you spend about 27 tracks trying to connect. And you feel like some songs connect and some don't, right? Now, this album isn't all Kanye on 27 tracks. He has a ton of guest appearances, from Jay-Z to Lil Baby to Da Baby, right? Ton of that. Not Andre 3000. Unfortunately, that record is not on here if you've heard it. And it's probably better than every record. No, it is better than every song on this album that we got. But in short, this album is bloated. There are too many features to me. The direction seems weird, but it's Kanye West, right? Should be weird. But you feel like you're almost listening to songs, right? You don't really feel like there was a mission here. Now, musically, when it comes to production, Kanye West is always, that part is always good to me because it never sounds bad. Even if I'm not the biggest fan of the track, it always sounds good. It always sounds like somebody, like a premium producer produced these records, right? But lyrically, it's kind of like, I mean, if I listen to 27 songs, I don't feel like I'm walking away with much after listening to this album. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the verses from some of the appearances, like from Griselda Records to The Lox, even Jay Electronica, they stand out. Pusha T, they stand out. These are good verses, but I just don't know what Donda is. And I know there's somebody who followed everything, who went to every listening party, and and still loves Kanye and gave him a pass, even though we ain't give Michelle a pass, but I'ma just leave it at that, right? They're gonna say they understand it and they love it, but at the end of the day, for a man some of you like to refer to as a genius, if I was to even refer to Kanye West as a genius, we all know it was because of the other albums and not the more recent albums. It doesn't sound like a genius. It sounds like somebody who is overthinking thinking the music they make. It sounds like somebody who just needed to make an album dedicated to his mama. That's it. But it just sounds so unfocused, so unlike what you would think it would be. Do I recommend this album to a non-Kanye West fan? I do not. If you're a non-Kanye West fan, this won't make you a fan. Do I recommend this album to a Kanye West fan? Maybe. Which Kanye do you like? Do you prefer the early Kanye, or do you prefer this newer Kanye? I mean, that's what it boils down to. If you prefer this newer Kanye, this urge to be eclectic, but really is just as simple as it sounds, so be it. You might like this. But me personally, having been a Kanye West fan, much more of a bigger fan of his earlier material, and am open to some of his new material if it's dope. And if you ask me, the last Kanye West project that was dope is Kids See Ghosts with Kid Cudi. That was the last one for me that I was like, now this is dope. This is sort of what I expected. Moving along to his quote-unquote rival, Drake, who's been teasing this new album, Certified Lover Boy, via a terrible part in his head shaped like a heart. But I can dig it. You in album mode. You know, you got to do things like that sometimes when you're a rapper full time. Sometimes you just got to do some stuff, draw some attention to yourself. But his album had been teased for probably a year. And he didn't hold any listening parties, no shenanigans like that. But nevertheless, we didn't know when it was coming out. We didn't even know what the album cover looked like until we saw the emojis of pregnant women lined up. One of the weakest album covers of all time. I do understand what it means. Please, Drake stands, fall back. Don't come for me. But this album could be considered loaded also. 21 tracks, a lot of features, right? Lil Baby, Jay-Z's on this album also. Lil Durk, Future, Young Thug, Future again, Travis Scott. Who else is on here? 21 Savage, Project Pat, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, Kid Cudi's on here. 21 tracks. This album isn't bad. It's just nothing special. And take it from a person who did not like his last full-length album, Scorpion, not because it was bad, just because it wasn't nothing special. Now, some people will point to the hits that wound up coming off these albums. Fortunately for Drake, he just has it like that. He's gonna have hits. But to me, that doesn't mean that these albums are good. Drake's albums have always been a mixed bag of really dope songs to, oh, that's okay. That one's all right, you know. And Certified Lover Boy starts off really weak in a lot of ways because it doesn't sound like anything we haven't heard from Drake. Now, granted, for me personally, this year he released what I guess is like throwaways, right? A 3-song, EP called Scary Hours 2. I played that to death. I felt like I liked each of the songs. There was something about it. Maybe it was only because it was 3 songs. I don't know. But nevertheless, I played it a lot. So when I pressed play on this album, I was expecting a lot. Honestly, put those 3 tracks on here, take a couple off. And to me, it started out a little weak. It started out predictable. Not bad, but very predictable. And towards the end, it got much better, and guest appearances were a little bit better also. Track with Jay-Z is cool. But nevertheless, I kind of walked away feeling like I just heard something that I heard before. Now, granted, I am a Drake fan, but I'm more of a fan of him just singing. Not because I think he's the greatest singer in the world, but because I feel like those are his strongest songs. I know what some of his rap songs do, but for me personally, those are the songs I tend to like more from him. And this starts out heavy on the rapping side. And for me, it's kind of a disappointment. Same thing with Scorpion. So I get it. Some people like it, some people don't. There was a lot of talk about it being trash. I don't think it's trash at all. I just think that Drake is at the point now in his career where he may have exhausted, his powers a little bit, right? Because Drake was kind of, he was dope in the beginning for what he was. And then he started to tap into genres of music and blend that in, right? From house to dance hall. So there was something there with that, right? Because it was like, oh, he's tapping into these different genres, and these records are good, right? So now he's at the point where, well, what are you tapping into now? Like what genre are you going to piggyback off of, right? Because that's what he's doing in a lot of respects, to give you this different sound, to prolong, your streak of hits and staying on top. And I don't feel like this album has that. I feel like this album is just Drake, right? It's the rapping Drake, It's Drake rapping with the Migos flow. It's the Drake singing occasionally, and it's the Rick Ross and Drake record, which is dope. Don't get it twisted. That record is fire. But it's nothing special. So, would a person that doesn't really like Drake like this album? I doubt it. Because it's everything that Drake has done up until this point to make you not like him. So it's not going to be anything different. Would a fan of Drake like this album? Well, depends on how much of a fan you are. I'm a fan of Drake, but I feel like it's just okay. But if you're an extreme fan of Drake, it's new Drake. Of course you're satisfied, right? It's new Drake. Now, which album is better? Drake's Certified Lover Boy or Kanye West's Donda? If these were the only two albums and the only music I could listen to for the rest of my life, I couldn't get nothing old, I couldn't get nothing new, just these two albums, choose one. I would pick Drake's Certified Lover Boy because I feel like at least there's a direction. At least the majority of the songs are good. On Kanye's, I think if he would have dropped it down to maybe 10 songs, he would have a solid album because that album wasn't bad. Maybe he'd even have a direction. But I feel like if you take in both albums at face value, Drake's project is the better project, hands down. So that's going to do it for me. Leave your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about Donda and Kanye West? Did you listen to it? Do you even care? Do you love Kanye West and it's a masterpiece, a classic to you? Leave your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about Drake's new album, Certified Lover Boy? Do you love Drake? Do you not really care for Drake? Is this your first time buying a Drake album? What do you think about this album? Is it even good to you? It may be, right? Also, leave your comments about that album in the comment section below. Also, please know that this podcast and other episodes of my weekly Hip Hop Now podcast are also not only available on your favorite podcasting app, right? The link is in the description of this episode for that, but also on YouTube on a channel created by me called the B-Roll Network. You can watch this very this very review on YouTube. The link is in the description of this episode. Till next time, y'all, I am not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace.
Drop it on the random.